Good day, welcome to what is undoubtedly the most electrifying, heart-stopping, and narrative-shifting story coming out of Melbourne Park this year. We are talking about a match that was supposed to be a coronation, but turned into a lesson in brutal, high-stakes resilience. We are talking about the Australian Open 2026, Round 1. And if you thought you knew what drama looked like on a tennis court, you need to rewrite your definitions immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, the headline screaming across the tennis world right now isn't just about a win or a loss. It is about the absolute shockwave that just tore through Court 6. We witness a collision of two distinct worlds, two distinct styles, and two overwhelming forces of nature. On one side, the pride of the Philippines, the rising superstar making her main draw debut, Eala. On the other, the thunderous power of the United States, a player who decided that being the villain in a stadium full of opposing fans was exactly the fuel she needed. Alycia Parks. What we just witnessed was not a standard tennis match. It was a three-act play of psychological warfare. The scoreline reads, Alycia Parks defeats Eala, 0-6, 6-3, 6-2. But those numbers? They are lying to you. They do not tell you the story of the noise. They do not tell you about the silence. They do not tell you about the 20-point opening game that felt like a Grand Slam final in itself. And they certainly do not tell you how a player can win a set 6-0, a bagel in Grand Slam terminology, looking absolutely invincible, only to find themselves shaking hands at the net as the loser less than 90 minutes later. Let's set the scene before we even get to the ball striking. The atmosphere on Court 6 was historic. We are hearing reports that the queues to get into the specific court extended all the way back to the Rod Laver Arena adjacent plazas. This wasn't just a crowd. This was a legion. The Filipino community in Melbourne didn't just show up. They took over. Flags draped over every railing. Chants of, "Let's go Alex," that were so loud they were bleeding into the microphones of other televised matches nearby. For Eala, this was effectively a home match. The energy was football-esque. It was Davis Cup energy in a first-round individual match. And for the first 34 minutes, that energy propelled Eala to a level of tennis that was frankly terrifying. The shock in our headline is real. Imagine this. You are Alycia Parks. You walk onto the court, and thousands of people are actively rooting for your failure. You play the first set, and you don't just lose. You are erased. 0-6. You win 0 games. You are missing smashes. You are double faulting. The crowd is roaring at your errors. The narrative is already being written by the commentators. Eala has arrived. The American is crumbling. This is a rout. And then, the plot twist that defines champions. Alycia Parks didn't just adjust her game. She reconstructed her entire mental state in real time. What we saw in the second and third sets was one of the most impressive displays of blocking out the noise we have seen in modern tennis. Parks turned her serve into a weapon of mass destruction, raining down 12 aces, hitting spots with surgical precision, and turning the hostile energy into her own personal fire. She stopped playing the crowd and started playing the ball. She went from being the victim of a historic atmosphere to the silencer of it. This script today is going to break down exactly how this happened. We're going to look at that surreal first set, where Eala looked like a future world number one, painting lines and breaking wills. We will dissect the tactical shift Parks made, how she stopped overhitting, how she started finding the corners, and how she used her physicality to bully Eala off the baseline once the rallies extended. We will discuss the bagel curse, that strange phenomenon where winning a first set 6-0 often leads to a drop in focus of the winner and a dangerous, nothing-to-lose attitude for the loser. But more than the tennis, we are going to talk about the human element, the pressure on Eala. At 20 years old, carrying the hopes of an entire nation, playing in front of a crowd that desperate for her to win, that is a heavy backpack to wear. We saw the brilliance of it in the first set, but perhaps we also saw the weight of it in the third. And for Parks, we saw the birth of a new kind of mental toughness. To be laughed at, cheered against, and beaten 6-0, and to come back and dominate the decider 6-2, that is the stuff that saves careers. That is the stuff that makes you dangerous for the rest of the season. So buckle up. We are going deep. We are going to analyze the serve percentages, We're going to talk about that marathon first game that set the tone. We are going to talk about the controversial moments with the crowd cheering double faults and the umpire having to step in. This isn't just a match recap. This is an autopsy of a thriller. This is whole Australia shocked. This is Eala versus Parks. And the analysis starts right now. Let's transition into the deep dive. To understand the magnitude of this result, we first have to understand the context of the arena. The Australian Open is known as a happy slam, but the conditions on Court 6 were anything but friendly for Alycia Parks. This match was circled on the calendar the moment the draw came out. Eala, the 20-year-old sensation, has been steadily climbing the rankings, sitting at world number 49 coming into this. She is not just a tennis player in the Philippines. She is a cultural icon. The diaspora in Australia is massive, and they treat her matches like national holidays. On the other side, Alycia Parks, ranked around world number 100, a player known for having one of the biggest serves on tour, but also known for volatility. When she is on, she can beat anyone. When she is off, the errors pile up like snow. The first set, the mirage of perfection. Let's talk about the first set, because it is the most baffling part of this entire encounter. The scoreline says 6-0. A bagel. In professional tennis, a 6-0 set suggests a complete mismatch. It suggests that one player belongs in the arena and the other does not. The match began with a game that will likely be remembered for the rest of the tournament. The very first game lasted 20 points. 20 points. It was a war of attrition right out of the gate. Parks was serving, trying to establish dominance early. She has that massive kick serve, that flat bomb down the tee. But Eala was reading it. Eala, a lefty, was neutralizing the power, absorbing the pace, and redirecting it with those laser-flat ground strokes she is famous for. There were 8 break points in that opening game alone. 8 times, Eala stood on the precipice of taking the lead. 8 times, the crowd held its breath. Parks saved 7 of them, often with big serving, but the pressure was relentless. The crowd was groaning with every missed opportunity and exploding with every winner Eala hit. Finally, on the 8th break point, the dam broke. Eala converted. That 20-point game broke something in Alycia Parks' spirit for the next 30 minutes. Losing a battle that long, right at the start, is demoralizing. Conversely, for Eala, it was jet fuel. She broke, and then she held, and then she broke again. Eala went on a run where she won 8 of the next 9 points to go up 3-0. It was a blitzkrieg. Parks looked lost. She was misfiring on the forehand wing, sending balls long by meters, not inches. She attempted smash volleys and missed them, errors that usually signal a player is tight, nervous, and overwhelmed by the occasion. The crowd was sensing blood. They were cheering every error Parks made, which, while controversial, is part of the sport. It created a cauldron of noise that seemed to suffocate the American. Eala closed out the set in just 34 minutes. She didn't drop a game. She was moving beautifully, sliding on a hard court, finding sharp angles that forced Parks to move laterally, something big hitters hate doing. At 6-0, the commentary teams were already looking ahead to Eala's second-round opponent. It felt done. It felt dusted. It felt like a coronation. The psychology of the bagel. But here is where the tennis purists know to be careful. There's a saying, beware the player who just lost 6-0. Why? Because when you lose a set 6-0, you hit rock bottom. You have nothing left to protect. The pressure evaporates. You think, well, I can't play any worse than that. You start swinging freely. You stop overthinking. On the flip side, the player who won 6-0, Eala, is now in a dangerous spot. She has played perfect tennis. But perfection is impossible to sustain for 2 hours. If her level drops even 5%, and Parks' level rises 5%, the dynamic shifts. And that is exactly what happened. The second set, the awakening. Between sets, something changed in Alycia Parks' eyes. She later told reporters, I just kept telling myself to stay in the zone. She realized she was focusing too much on the crowd, too much on hostility. She needed to make the world smaller. Just the court, just the ball. The second set began, and Parks finally held serve. You could see the relief. The shoulders dropped. She took a deep breath. And then the serve arrived. We need to talk about the Alycia Parks serve. When she finds her rhythm, it is one of the most formidable shots in women's tennis. It is not just fast. It has heavy action. In the second set, she started landing the first serve. She stopped giving Eala a look at second serves. She started hitting aces, 12 of them by the end of the match. Suddenly, Eala wasn't dictating points anymore. She was reacting. Parks stepped inside the baseline. She started taking the ball early, robbing Eala of time. The unforced errors from Parks disappeared, replaced by scorching winners that silenced the Filipino faithful. Parks sprinted out to a 3-0 lead. The script had flipped. Eala, to her credit, is a fighter. She is known for her Manny Pacquiao spirit. She didn't go away. She clawed back. She broke back, leveling the set at 3-3. At this moment, the match hung in the balance. The crowd woke up again. The chants of "Let's go Alex" returned, deafening and rhythmic. But this was the crucible. At 3-3, Parks didn't crumble like she did in the first set. She held firm. She played a calm, collected service game to stop Eala's momentum. And then, at 4-3, she struck. She attacked Eala's serve, which, while improved, is still attackable by a power player. Parks broke for a 5-3 lead. Serving for the set, Parks didn't blink. She closed it out 6-3. One set all. The match was now effectively a one-set shootout. The bagel of the first set was irrelevant. It was a brand new war. The decider, the battle of nerves. Going into the third set, the momentum was entirely with the American. Tennis is a game of momentum, and Parks was riding a tidal wave. She broke Eala early again, jumping out to a 2-0 lead. Let's analyze the tactical breakdown here. In the third set, Parks was winning the short points. If the rally went under 4 shots, Parks was winning because of her serve and her first strike tennis. Eala needed to extend the rallies. She needed to move Parks, make her run, make her hit that extra ball. But Eala was exhausted. The emotional toll of the first set, the effort to come back in the second, and the sheer physicality of defending against Parks' power was draining her legs. Eala managed to hold for 1-2, and then 2-3. There was a glimmer of hope. The crowd tried to rally her. The umpire actually had to issue warnings to the crowd. There were reports of fans cheering double faults and yelling during the service motion, a big no-no in tennis etiquette. Parks later laughed about it, saying, "I don't know what my record is with crowds against me, but it definitely put the fire on me." That is a champion's mindset. She used the rude behavior as motivation. The critical moment came at 2-4. Eala was serving. She needed to hold to stay in touch. But Parks was zoning. She was blasting returns deep to Eala's backhand, pinning her in the corner. Eala's backhand down the line, which had been a weapon in the first set, started missing the mark. It drifted wide. Parks broke again. 5-2, the final stand. Serving for match at 5-2, Parks showed a moment of humanity. The nerves appeared. She had match points. Eala saved one. Then Eala saved another. The crowd was going berserk. The noise was deafening. Eala was fighting for her life, scurrying along the baseline, retrieving balls that should have been winners. For a moment, it looked like Eala might break back. It looked like we might get a plot twist within the plot twist. But Alycia Parks had one more weapon left in the chamber. On the final match point, Parks didn't play it safe. She didn't roll the ball in. She went big. She hit a sharp serve out wide, pulling Eala off the court. Eala barely got a racket on it, floating a return back. Parks stepped in and unleashed a blazing forehand winner. A shot of pure conviction. Game. Set. Match. Parks. The aftermath and implications. The scene at the net was respectful. Eala, despite the heartbreak, shook hands. Parks, despite the hostility of the crowd, acknowledged the win with grace, but also a clear sense of vindication. This loss is going to sting for Alex Eala. To win a set 6-0 and lose the match is one of the most painful ways to exit a Grand Slam. It raises questions about game management. Did she peak too early? Did she relax too much after the first set? Or was she simply overpowered by a superior athlete who found her range? For Eala, This is part of the learning curve. She is only 20. She has the shots. She has the heart. She has the crowd support that most players dream of. But she needs to develop that plan B for when a power hitter starts zoning. She needs to find a way to disrupt the rhythm of a server like Parks when the aces start flowing. For Alycia Parks, this is a career-defining win. Not because it's a first-round win at a slam. She's done that before. But because of how she did it. To be down 0-6 in a hostile environment and win, that proves she has the mental fortitude to go deep. She moves on to face the 19th seed, Karolina Muchova. And let me tell you, Muchova will be watching the tape of this match. She will see that Parks is vulnerable early, but if you let her into the match, she is a nightmare to put away. The stats tell the story. 12 aces for Parks. A massive differential in winners in the second and third sets. But the real stat is the unquantifiable one, mental toughness. Parks had it when it mattered most. Eala had it early, but couldn't sustain it against the onslaught. This match was a microcosm of tennis itself. It's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. It's not about how loud your fans are. It's about how quiet you can make your own mind. Alycia Parks mastered the silence within the noise. Eala brought the thunder early, but the storm eventually passed, leaving only the American standing. And so, as the sun sets over Melbourne Park and the crowds disperse from Court 6, we are left to digest what we have just seen. The banners are being taken down. The Philippine flags are being folded. The chants have faded into the evening air. But the resonance of this match will vibrate through the tournament for days to come. We often talk about sport as a metaphor for life. And today, that metaphor was written in bold, capital letters. We saw the fickleness of momentum. We saw how quickly a dream start can turn into a nightmare, and how a nightmare start can be salvaged into a dream result. For Filipino fans, this is a day of what-ifs. What if Eala had held that service game at 3-3 in the second set? What if she had converted one of those break points early in the decider? The pain of sport is in the margins. It is in the inches between a ball landing on the line or just wide. Today, those inches belong to Alycia Parks. But let us not be too somber about Eala's exit. This was her main draw debut at the Australian Open. Just being here, directly in the main draw, is a testament to her rise. She stood toe-to-toe with a top 100 player, a player with weapons that can hurt the best in the world. And she dominated her for a significant portion of the match. The 6-0 first set is not a fluke. It is a flash of brilliance that shows Eala's ceiling. Her potential is sky high. She will learn from this. She will learn that a tennis match is a marathon, not a sprint. She will learn that you have to kill the giant twice, once to get the lead and once to close the door. Eala mentioned in her post-match press conference that the support was heartwarming and that she hopes the fans stick with her through the losses as well as the wins. That is a mature perspective from a 20-year-old. She understands that she is building something bigger than just a tennis career. She is building a legacy for her country. The loss hurts, but the foundation is solid. And for Alycia Parks, this is a warning shot to the rest of the draw. If you are Karolina Muchova, you are looking at this result and you are wary. You are seeing a player who cannot be intimidated. You are seeing a player who can serve her way out of trouble. Parks said herself, "It puts a fire on me." That fire is dangerous. A player who thrives on adversity, who enjoys being a villain, who laughs when the crowd cheers her double faults. That is a player with nothing to lose and everything to gain. The Australian Open is just getting started. We have 2 weeks of tennis ahead of us. We will see upsets. We will see champions fall. We will see new stars rise. But I venture to say that few matches in the first round will have the emotional arch, the atmosphere, and the sheer narrative twist that we just witnessed on Court 6. This was whole Australia shocked, and rightly so, because we came expecting a coronation and we got a resurrection. We came to see a rising star, and we saw a falling star catch fire and shoot back up into the sky. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. If you enjoyed this extensive breakdown, if you appreciate the nuance and the detail of going beyond just the scoreline, make sure you let us know. We are here to tell the stories that the numbers miss. We are here for the drama, the passion, and the glory of the Grand Slam. From the heat of Melbourne, This has been your extensive coverage of Eala versus Alycia Parks. The score is in the books, 0-6, 6-3, 6-2. The lesson is etched in history. Never, ever count a player out until the final point is won. Signing off. Stay tuned for more coverage, more analysis, and more shocks from the Australian Open. Good night and good tennis.